All right, good morning. So today we're going to talk a little bit about 4.5, which is percents. And I understand there's like a lot of trauma that goes along with percents. I remember my fifth grade teacher being very frustrated with me about this kind of thing. It's really, if you were frustrated before, I encourage you, like, give it a fresh look, okay, with adult eyes, because it's really not as bad as you remember. And there's kind of a language to it that will help. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can kind of get to work on this. Okay, and we'll see what we have. Okay. So we want to do, this, this. There we go. Maybe so big. Windows. Like there's one sentence. All right. So what we're going to do is just going to copy the problem down, and we're just going to kind of take it apart here. So we have 2. Oh, that's terrible. Go back to draw. 2 is what percent? Okay, what percent of 5? Okay, so what we have is we have some kind of a percent, and the problem with percents is that they're really a decimal, even though they're expressed as a whole number. So 1%, right? That is equal to 0.01. It's 1 penny. It's 1 part of a dollar. Okay, so we have 2 is, so the is part, that's the equals. Okay, and when we have a x, we have an unknown here. You can use any letter you want. Okay, but we're gonna use x. That's typical for math, and then times 5. Now, when I find this number, it's going to be as a percent, or as a decimal rather, and we're going to have to change it to a percent. So you can rewrite this as 2 is equal to 5x. A lot of people like to do it that way. And then we're going to divide both sides by 5. Okay. And another thing that people like to do, like we have 2/5 is equal to x, but a lot of people like to write it on the variable on the left. That's fine. So we have x is equal to 2/5. Okay. Now we're not quite done yet because it's a fraction and we want a percent. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 divided by 5. Okay, we can take 5 into 2. 5 doesn't go into 2, so we need to add a decimal place to 0. So that's going to be a 4. So then we go in just right. So we have a 20 here, and we have a 0. So we have x is equal to 0.4. Now with a percent, what we have to do really is we have to multiply and divide by 100. Okay, it's just 1. Okay, we're just going to multiply and divide by 100. So 0.4 times 100, right? That's 40. And then we have a divided by a 100 here. And what happened over time with this 100 is we have 40%. Okay, so all we're going to do with this 0.4 for my nurses here, we're going to go 1, 2. We're just going to move the decimal place 2 points over, right? Just 1, 2, and that's our percent. It's 40%. Okay, and that's really what there is to it. So is equals. Okay, I don't know what percent it is, so we're just going to give it something. Of means times. Okay, and that's pretty much what we're going to do here. Okay, so this is 40%. Okay, great. Next question. Okay, 60% of something is 6. Okay, 60%. So the first thing I'll write it down first. 60% of, so that's times of something, because I use an A, because I use the times here, is equal to, that's the is, right, is 6. 60% of something is 6. So the first thing we're going to do, because you can't really deal with percentages as they're written, this is more for people to deal with numeracy rather than like actual math. So it's easier to read rather than we're going to say this is 0.6, right? Because we're here, we want to change it to we're here rather, decimal place is here. We want to change it to a decimal now. We have 1 to another direction. Okay, so 0.6a is equal to 6 divided by 0.6 divided by 0.6. We have a equals, and we can get divided by 0.6, that's fine. Okay. 0 divided by 0.6. All right, not 0. 6 divided by 0.6, we end up with 10. A is equal to 10. And that is going to be our answer. 60% of 10 is 6. So 0.6 times 10 is equal to, that's a true statement. Okay. So that's what we're trying to do here. Okay, so 60% of 10. And there's a couple of problems in here which gives you like, wait, is that really the answer? Yeah, it is. Okay. So they do try to trick you a little bit. Okay. We have 175% of 48 is what? So we're just asking you to do a multiplication problem here. Okay, so we have 175% times 48 is what? So again, we can't really do operations with percentages. We have to, these are for display. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the decimal place here 2 points. So this is 1.75 times 48. And I don't know what that is. So this is 1.75 times 48. Okay. We end up with 84. Okay. Let's see, because it's going to be more, right? That's one of the things. If it's over 100% of something, you're going to have more of it. Okay. If you're going into statistics, probability next semester, we generally don't like to see percentages that are over 100 in those classes. So this irks me a little bit, but at the same time, it's still valid. Okay, the way we're using them, it's still valid. Okay, but there we go. I think this is the other one that's kind of a trick question. After that, they get a little bit more just down to earth. But we have 62 is 62% of, okay, so let's, I don't know, 62 equals point, right, because the decimal place has to move over twice, 0.62 times something. Okay, that's what we're doing. So here we could divide both sides by 0.62. If you've already seen the answer, that's fine. Okay, and then you say, well, what the heck is that? Like, well, that's 100. Okay, 62 divided by 0.62. Okay, and there's no crime. I'm not judging. Oh, not times, divides. 62 divided by 0.62. Okay, my face out of the way, so we get 100. So A is equal to 100. That makes sense, right? 62% of 100 should be 62. Okay, that's what the definition really is. So I'm not judging you. You're free to use calculator. I'd hope that you develop some kind of number sense as we're going through, but I understand doing that in the week is a lot to ask. Okay, so I'm not judging you on a calculator. Go ahead and use it. But one of the things you should be looking at is like, well, I've got 2 is what percentage of 5? It's not 100. It should be like half of 5 is 2.5. So it should be a little less than 50%. Okay, the same thing with all of these. If we're trying to, as you're doing them, don't just mindlessly press the calculator buttons. Trying to think about it as we're going through it. Like, does that make sense? Or what kind of answer should I expect? So the first time I type in what, 62 times 0.62? got a little like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. Okay. So I was like, oh, that's right. I misentered this. Okay, I pressed the wrong buttons. So as you're doing this, you always kind of want to engage a little bit and kind of think about what's going on. Okay. This one's a little bit harder. So 4.5% of 250 is what? Okay, so this is 4.5% of 250 is what? Okay, so we have to change this 4.5% to a decimal. Okay, so this would be 4.5%, right? And we're just going to move the decimal over twice and say this is 0.045 of, which is right, of is times. So we'll say times 250 equals what? Okay, and even after I've converted this, right, 4.5%, that's kind of a little bit less than a nickel, right? I'm not trying to belittle anybody by using money instead of percents, but I can make change a lot faster than I can subtract. So I try to cast almost everything into dollars and cents because we're used to working with it, and it doesn't scare us. I can't do 4 decimal arithmetic, but I can make change for a $100 bill because I used to work at a convenience store, and people would come in at 3 o'clock in the morning and they buy like, well, some people would buy like, 80 something dollars worth of gas. Some people would buy $3 worth of gas. Like, are you kidding me? So they do that. So we have, you don't have to type in the leading zero if you don't want to. So 0.045, it'll still work. If you neglected this leading zero, that's fine. Nobody will know, okay, that you typed it in or not typed it in. Okay, and we get 11.25. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that you're looking for. Okay, when I'm looking at this 5%, well, what's 10% of 250, right? We just moved the decimal place. 10% of 250 is 25. And 4.5 is about half of that. So 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. Okay, that's in the neighborhood, right? And when I do the calculator for sure, then we actually get an answer that I trust a little bit more. But if I got something that wasn't 12-ish or 20, even 25-ish, right? I ended up with like 40. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Okay, so you always want to kind of keep an eye out for what kind of number am I going to get here, and as you're working the calculator, because it's so easy to mistype something. Okay, we all deal with spell check and autocorrect and everything, so it's very easy to accidentally press in the wrong number, press in the wrong operation. You just want to kind of be aware of like, what am I expecting to come out, and am I getting that answer as I'm getting the calculator answer. Okay, let me double check something. A lot of the problems would pretty much do this. Okay, you have more applications in the next section. So if you loved percent at the beginning, you're going to be even more happy about it when we get to the next section because there's even more. Okay, at the end, I think 14 was a little. Some of these are a little tricky, not in the operation, okay, but on what are they asking. So you want to say something like a worker earns $26.50 an hour. If she receives an 8.5% pay raise, what is the amount of her hourly raise? Okay, so she has $26.50, and then you get an 8.5% pay raise. Okay, and then you want to know what's the hourly raise. Okay, so there's 2 questions they could have asked. One is, what is her new salary, and the other one is, what is the amount of her pay raise. So this one's not going to be too bad because it's just, what is the pay raise. So that's going to be 8.5%, right, of 2650. So that's going to be 0.085. So it's not quite 10%. Okay, so times 2650. Okay, so if I knew it was 10%, she'd be getting about a $2.65 raise. It's going to be a little less than that. 8.5%, a little smaller. Okay, so if I should get something $2.50 ish, and then we'll just say, okay, so 0.085, okay, times 2650, all right, $2.25. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go here. We're going to say this is $2.25. Now the answer they want is the amount of the pay raise, okay, but they could have just as easily asked us for the total salary. So you just have to be a little bit careful in what they're asking before you type in your answer. Okay, so just make sure when you get these word problems that we're reading like what did they actually want. Okay, what do they actually want to deal with? So if I wanted the total new salary, right, that's always fun to know. 7 point, and that's an 8, and we have a 2875. That would be your total. This would be amount increase. And of course, this is what they want as an answer. So 225. And then we have things like that. So the hardest part of the word problems, don't be afraid of them. Don't be intimidated. Don't let them push you around. Okay, is just kind of writing down what the information they gave you is, and then figuring out what they're asking you. Okay. Let's do this one. This is a long problem. Okay, I might do this one in class, but this was a long problem. I could do it here, I guess. Okay, we'll call this one the last one. Okay, so this is Bidlewild hotel manager is evaluated on the basis of his occupancy in the hotel, the average daily percent of available rooms that are actually occupied. Okay. During one particular week, the occupancy totals were as, and they listed all these numbers. If they have 135 rooms available each night, what is the occupancy rate for the week? Okay, so what we have to do here is we have this list of numbers. We have a total of 135. So what we're going to do is we're going to get different percentages. We're going to get 109 divided by 135. 88 divided by 135. 108 divided by 135. 85 divided by 135. I'm going to run out of room. Let's see. 98 over 135. 99 over 135. And 82 over 135. Okay, that's all 7 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we just got a lot of division problems to do. Okay. So what we're going to do here, actually, I'll show you this way too. Okay, so we can go through and do all of this. Here, I was working this one out a little bit earlier, slightly different problem, but let's get rid of that. Oops. Where's my delete? There it is. Oh no, kill them all. There we go. All of them are gone. Okay. So what we're going to have, I'm just going to type down the things in the value here. I'm going to move this so I have some room to see. But we're just going to 109, enter 88, 108, 85, 98, 99, and 82. Okay, that's just the numbers that I pulled off of here. And then what I'm going to do is I'll just write 135 here. And I'll Control C, and type them all over the place. Okay, there's other ways you could have done this. Okay, so plus, because you have to do a plus or an equal sign before you type in a mathematical formula, divided by this guy. And I'm going to again copy and paste all of that. Now notice these are all decimals rather than percentages. In this case, it doesn't matter. If we want to make the percentages, we can, or we can just average these out. So again, before formula, you type in a plus or an equals. We're going to say average. Okay, and grab all of these guys. All right, and then we're going to convert this to a percentage. So plus this thing times 100, and we end up with, I'd say that's what, 7. What do they want? How they want us to do this? Is it to the nearest percent? Round to the nearest whole number. So they would want 71% here. You can also go to this thing and change the format. Oops, I don't want that one. The number. Control C. Control Z is undo. It's almost, it's the best best button there is. Okay, so there I'll go with percent, change that to a percent. Okay, so if you don't want to go through the 100, Excel will do it for you. You just have to know how to ask it. Okay, so 71%. Let's go here. Assuming I typed them in all correctly. All right. By the way, the error message they give you is absolutely useless. Okay, it's like, hey, you should have done this. Like that was the mistake I made. It doesn't know. It just gives you the percentage. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop us here. But that's pretty much percentages. I understand how terrible these were when you were in grade school, but really, once you know the trick of the language, they're really not so bad. Okay, so thank you, and I think that'll be it for this section. All right, good luck to your homework.